BD is the fucking
Wednesday nights alright. Back like a bad habit, but better than you've ever had it. You are rocking with the Sunday Day A Show. It's Matt and I reviewing AEW All In. It just ended. Hi, Matt. How are you doing?
I still feel like it's going, based on the adrenaline that's running through my veins. Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. This is the ideal way to spend a Sunday, in my opinion. I also was able to go to the farmer's market. So we're just it's Sunday.
Perfect. Yeah, I'd love to know before we get to anything important, was everybody's snack set up during the pay-per-view today? Because it's totally different during these, for us here on the West Coast, morning pay-per-views, early afternoon. You know, normally I'm in a pizza or a Thai takeout zone for pay-per-views. This morning, got a breakfast sandwich, cooked up
It's a
some
good
homemade
thing
hash
that your
browns,
husband is
stuff like
never
that. Coffee.
That's one of the
because
worst.
Nick would have never
Hello,
disowned
Christian.
his father anyway because he realizes
Let's hear
that
your
his
snacks.
father was as good of a wrestler as I was.
The
And
right
not only that, his
right on
father,
par.
Buddy Wayne, and Nick knows this as well, was the man.
He was the man.
So do me a favor, and you know what, Shane? It's because, you know, we played your cards right. But that's a conversation for another day. So what I'd like to have right now is for you to never get the hell out of my ring. Never go punch your card because I think your shift is never about to start at Denny's. Never get the hell out of my ring. Right, never.
Never. Right,
Get
never.
out of my ring right never. Paceball had Doritos sugar-free Red Bull, an edible, and a peach strawberry spindrift. Wicked. Ruffles vodka and beer from Corvax. Incredible. I was on the coffee and breakfast zone. I also picked up a donut, Matt. How about yourself?
I had a nice iced Spanish latte.
Come on. Ooh.
Big fan of those, you know. Get condensed milk with like condensed milk anything.
Do
I'm
it for
in.
Birdie.
That's how the Vietnamese do their coffee, too.
Yeah.
They get the condensed milk in there.
Picture a Spanish latte is like the Vietnamese coffee toned down a little bit. It's
That's
just
so
a
wicked.
little bit of condensed milk, whereas Vietnamese coffee is
Yeah,
a
I
lot.
feel that.
A lot. And then
This edible had nachos, beer, some pasta salad. Fantastic. Now let's shout out our brother Dan in the chat. Early 90s pants, the only healthy guy in here. He just had weed. Everyone else was gorging on, oh, this unhealthy thing, this process, that. Like I said, I picked up a breakfast sandwich. Dan was just like, spare me that. I'm eating healthy today.
yeah, Pacefall Corvax with some sicko meals there. You gotta appreciate just being able to say Doritos sugar-free Red Bull, edible, and a Spindrift, Ruffles vodka and beer. That just sounds like it sort of it heightens the experience. I had myself a nice gluten-free brownie cookie, and
How was that?
it was really nice. Went to La Forêt. They just opened one in Coquitlam on Austin. So
Fantastic.
I think you'd like La Forêt, right? I think you go to
Yeah,
the
I
one in
think I would.
Burnaby.
I can't remember.
It's like
but
a
I'm sure I
nice
would. I love baked goods.
picture-
I never met a bakery I didn't like.
Picture of the Iron Sheik, painting of the Iron Sheik in the background. Gotta respect it. Well,
I'm
you
already all in on that.
you don't have to respect it, actually.
I just want to say out the gate today, we'll get to your 1 to 7 scores on the pay-per-view. Then I want to get your match of the nights. Then we'll go through. We'll take your calls. We'll do all that. I just want to say you see me in lots of modes on this channel on Dynamite. Sometimes we're just sort of getting through it, or we think it's good, we think it's bad, this match, that match. I come to you today as just the guy who loves pro wrestling. I loved GCW Homecoming last night. I really enjoyed that show. And I thought All In today was just had some classics on it. I'm just in a great mood, loving the goddamn business that we all love. Thank you all for being here. I think with Floob subscribe. Was that Floob? Do it for Birdie. Thank you for the subscription, Floob and Maddie B. 2123 correctly saying BD is the fucking man. We'll get to it. Who could possibly disagree? Anybody else? It's month end, so if you have Amazon Prime, please consider giving us your free sub. If you don't have a free sub, open up the wallet. Give us money.
Give us money in
Come on.
any way you can.
I'll give you my address.
Not for us, for the business.
Yeah, no, of course not. We're not greedy. Don't be crazy. All right. Or patreon.com/J0SHC if you want to join the Wrestling Brain message board. If you want to get all the solo episodes that we do back there, patreon.com/J0SHC. Been very active in there lately. Lots of new people.
Mhm.
Let's hear it for the business. You're damn right, Fruits are Edible. I'm in a hell of a mood. Let's talk about it. But let's start off as we do. Let's do what it is we do best around here, I suppose.
Mhm.
And watch GCW Homecoming if you missed it, folks.
Let's do it. What we do best. Watch GCW Homecoming starting now.
Yeah, ignore the show. What I do best is watch GCW Homecoming. Let's go 1 to 7 with 1 being the worst and 7 being the best. What is your score on today's AW pay-per-view offering? All in London 2024. You did spend money on it. You did spend time. Maddie, would you please hit that beautiful music?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Come on.
Maddie, what do we do on these post-pay-per-view shows? Do you read out the scores?
I can. I'd be happy to. I love
hear it.
reading and I love speaking.
Let's do it.
Ashton Kutcher kicks us off with a 7. I Am Mayhab with a 7. Quarterbacks 1266 with a 7. Dark Lord DDKL with a 7. Kevin Sub with a 7. Sever 1 with a 7. We got No Clue What This Is with a 7. Fruits Are Edible with a 7. Albie19 with a 7. Maddie B with a 7. Early 90s Pants with a 7. Cashmere Sweaters with a 7. Pacefall with a 6. Doug Crap with a 7. Hits Merle with a 6.75. The Coward 7. Culture of Losing with a 6. Niblets 05 with a 7. Danny Midaw with a 6.5. Gandalf Lundgren with a 7. Those scores are in. I would say we are very close to a unanimous 7. Aside from
Say
a few
6.9 average?
I would say 6.9 average. I'm not typing it in this time. I'm just, I'm typing it in my own brain, and I'm going to say
Doing
6.
math brain.
A 6.9, a very nice score.
How about for you, Maddie? How does the 6.9 average reflect your feelings on the pape?
I think I would have to say, I would have to give it a 7 myself. So 6.9 is good, but the 6.9 gives perfect context to show you that it wasn't flawless.
Yeah.
You could still be a 7 without being flawless because of the true guttural feeling that so many moments of the show gave you. So I
7 is masterpiece, not
Yeah.
perfection.
7 is masterpiece. It was a masterpiece. And so people who aren't giving it a 7 were probably just more taken out of it by the moments that didn't work. And it's totally understandable. It's the same reason you and I both really enjoyed Alien Romulus, even though there were things that took us out of it. 6.9, I think perfect because that's still a 7, but it shows that there's room to grow.
Yeah, go see Alien Romulus too. And if you could see it with Matt Prince on a great screen, I recommend it. Great way to take in a movie. We do a lot of that lately. It's just a hell of a way to see a movie. Yeah, man, 7 for me. I understand a 6. I even understand a 5.5 to some degree. Like there's some stuff on this show that I was not into or feels unimportant or was just, could have frankly even could have subtracted from this card in an effort to add to it.
Yeah.
But 7 within like the context of the wrestling I watch, man. Thought the main was a classic. I loved the trios match, which I was really not expecting to. I thought somehow Mariah and Tony managed to deliver on their feud in their match. No comment on MJF and Ospreay. Darby and Jack was shorter. Obviously, I would have liked a more spread out match, but I thought they told sort of a clear, interesting story there, which sometimes that's just what a pay-per-view can't be every single match. Tons of kickouts, go and have the very best match you can have. People get exhausted by the main. And then, of course, the main event was a knockout, man, an absolute knockout. And we'll get into it. We'll be taking... I'll tell you this. If 2 people in the chat say, I'll call in, we'll take some calls. But otherwise, I know Marlon, who normally calls in, is at Metallica, so we won't have him tonight. So we'll see. Two of you want to call in? We'll do it. If not, just hear from Matt and I tonight. Matt, are they ready for another question already? Or no, let's talk about the main event, then I'm going to ask a question.
That sounds good. Let's talk about the thing that made us hoot and holler.
And holler. The final countdown. It's Bryan Danielson fighting in front of his family with his career on the line. Buddy, Birdie, and Bree Danielson all ringside as he takes on the AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland. Talk to me about the pre-match here, Matt. Did this job? What am I talking about? Did this match feel as enormous as main event of Wembley Stadium, title versus career? How much does that belays?
In a way that made the rest of the card not seem as big, did this match like create that feeling? Like, and it's not just the entrances that made that feeling. They did a good job of showing how they got here, why it's super important, and just like two appropriately big entrances to a match that already feels bigger than everything on the card. They could not have done any better, in my opinion. Like nothing was over the top. Everything was just like, these are two, nothing could take away from the match. It was just perfect, because two wrestlers that I love, but two wrestlers that I have not loved more than I do in this moment. It was just this,
Sure.
It was just a crescendo. That's the best word I could use for it. Crescendo. This was striking while the iron's hot. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think it's totally true and well said. And I don't think that's easy to do. I even think, and I hate to say something negative about this match, but just it is an example that comes to mind. Tony and Mariah's feud peaked very early, and then they had a couple more weeks until the match. And nailing that, like you say, this crescendo, this constant escalation is no easy task. And tonight really did feel like the fever pitch, the most that Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland have ever disliked each other. God, I don't even really know what to say, because this match, I think I see the word vibes in chat. I totally agree. The vibes of this match were nuts, because we all thought going in that Bryan Danielson was going to win, I think. They did a good job, for me at least, of biting on the big pressure kick out when Swerve had him there. I thought there was a very real chance that Swerve was going to pin him there. And like I've said many times on Dynamite, that's not the ultimate test of a match, but it is. If you want to be a 7 out of 7 match, I probably had to buy both people were going to win at one point in time, just for my personal marking scale. That's not entirely true. Kenta Kobashi versus Yoshinari Ogawa comes to mind, but that's a different discussion.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah. You were also thinking about what about Ogawa Kobashi in 03, Josh?
If you didn't say it, I would.
I saw you ready to yeah. But I was able to buy both guys winning in this match. And I've seen some chatter about that this match, or rather this feud, was largely about Bryan Danielson, and I actually think that that's sort of a legitimate complaint if you wanted to have one about this. Even the video package was just like, look at how great Bryan's career has been. But I felt like that came across in how aggressive Swerve Strickland fought Bryan Danielson, because Danielson's one of these guys that you can go in there with and beat the shit out of, and he's not going to complain or think you're working stiff. He's going to give it right back to you. But I mean, these are the most efficient, brutal house calls, big businesses. This, again, it's the main event of Wembley. This is when you empty the tank and do the best versions of your moves and whatnot. But
the apron bump onto the bell, like this felt like a blood feud, which is just, that's what you want in these moments. You want to feel like these two. It's a great point to say that this was about Bryan Danielson from the outside. You have your on the men's side, the first black champion in such a big moment. People thought going into it that he wasn't going to win. And so if you're taking the side that is like what would you call it, like a transitional champion, like there are threads there that you can hold on to. I totally understand. I don't think though that that's fair to how Swerve Strickland feels at the end of it all.
Agreed.
I don't think it's fair to the moments that you were able to feel like, oh no, like Swerve is like the like you were probably going to bring it up, but the brushing off of the Busaiku knee, like
Spot of the year contender, man.
the feeling that I was just like, oh no, I was tingly. This match gave me tingles, you know, like the pins and needles moments. Where
I had
I'm
that
just
feeling
like,
3 times on this card. This is one of them.
to go into it with that mindset, I think there is something to grasp onto, but I think the beauty of this match is that there's just no way you could leave it feeling like Swerve is done in any way. They somehow were able to take the title away from him and make you feel like there's room for him to grow. There's a higher ceiling for him now that Bryan Danielson, so you can give both people these special moments. It's a rare feeling. And I think there's just no sourness leaving the match, and that is so special because it's so easy for you to feel like Swerve was a casualty in any way. He's the loser in this match, but he's not a casualty. And there's just so many things for him to do after it. He has just shown him who he is. And who he is a guy who brushed off, the guy who is a psycho, the guy who is sadistic, and the guy who can brush off a move that could put people down. It's spectacular. What a match.
Yeah, it's funny. I've said this on the show before that people, when they complain about no selling, I always feel like they're just saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. They're just giving away the entire thing, because not only do people quote unquote no sell moves in real fights all the time, like if you watch any amount of fighting, you will see constant no selling. You will see people getting punched in the face and moving forward. Constantly, you will see this happen. And moments like that, and I love All Japan, I love ECW. These are federations where guys get real tough guy moments. Give me everything you got, and I am Terminator coming forward. I am Taz. I am Kenta Kobashi. And these moments, used sparingly. I don't think a federation works if there's no rules to the gravity of it.
Yeah.
But man, we saw a tiger driver from the top rope in this match. We saw the Busaiku knee into the crossface, into the full-on lock. But I think it's that moment of Swerve Strickland standing coldly, Jay-Z, dirt off of your shoulder style, a finisher that we know and love. And I like that after this great run that Swerve's had, where he's been established as somebody who absolutely belongs at the top of the card, that they did obviously enter this match with, how do we protect Swerve without making this an insanely dirty finish? And so you have Hangman attack Prince Nana. I promise I'm not going to do another 5 minutes on Prince Nana. I'll save that for Wednesday. But I mean, this guy was in half empty halls with Ring of Honor, with whatever worker of the week they had that couldn't talk, just the in-house, never going anywhere manager. This guy in Wembley was as over as anybody in that building was tonight. And when I think it was Bun B and another rapper, I'm sorry, I don't know this world very well, they walked them out, and then Prince Nana and Swerve kept walking. I was just like, man, that's the movie. It's not the movie I want to see, is the movie about Prince Nana, dude. This guy who he doesn't get any bigger. You're walking alongside the world champion at the 50,000 stadium show, and every time you do this, the crowd is going ballistic. Even when they're doing Nana's intro, Nana's getting booed because Brian's so beloved, and I read it as impromptu. So Swerve, Brian gets the big intro. For 25 years, he's been entertaining fans. Yeah, Brian. And then they go to Swerve, boo. And Nana just grabs Justin Roberts' mic, and he's like, whose house? And smiles. And the whole guy goes, New Swerve's house. And he's just smiling away. And it's like, man, alive, dude. What a journey. Look at $1 million too, by the way. And all this stuff, give them pieces to play with when it comes time for the Hangman interruption. Now, my preferred perfect wrestling matches have minimal interruption.
Yep.
I don't mind this as much. Hangman and Swerve is such a hot feud. It wasn't directly involved in the finish because they do the distraction where he turns around and then it's a Busaiku knee, but that's a kick out spot, and then they continue for a bit. And I'm glad that they did that. I felt like if it was, I think I would be outright sour if Swerve Strickland just turns around, eats a Busaiku knee, 1, 2, 3. I feel like Danielson doesn't need it. Swerve doesn't need it. So from that perspective, I probably could have done without it, but it didn't drive me mental. Like when somebody pitched this in the Discord, I was like, please don't give us a interruption finish in the main event of Wembley.
You don't want the interruption, but the entire story, like this is also Hangman's story. Hangman wanted to get into the gauntlet match and wanted to win the gauntlet. That gave you a title shot, right? The casino.
Yeah, that's
gauntlet?
correct. Yeah.
So everything in his lead up to, starting from his re-debut, even before he came back, everything about his story was leading up to somehow thwarting Swerve Strickland. And if he didn't show up, well, then he'd be ineffective. Like,
So here, I don't want to talk too much about this because I talked about it on the preview show, but my problem with that is I think there's equal as much Hangman character motivation to want to get Swerve while he has the title.
Yeah.
Like costing Swerve the title and then, now we get to fight without the title, I think you can easily explain away Hangman being like, no, he wants Swerve to have the title, and then it's a post-match thing. Swerve is laying there, and then Hangman comes out in his darkest moment, steps on him. Like I talked about it a couple different ways. I think you could have done this without that match. So I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think there's a lot of ways you can still make Hangman look invested without that.
There was a moment months ago before Hangman went away where he would rather lose in a triple threat in order for Swerve to not win. And so I think the precedent was set that, like, he doesn't care. He wants to kill Swerve. He wants to kill Swerve. That's all he wants to do. Which I appreciate. I appreciate that, like, interruptions, they are things that most people enjoy, I think. And so you're going to get them.
Yeah.
If they were going to do that and ruin it, I agree. It would have been sour. They did just enough. A little bit off the
they
top.
handled it with
a little,
care.
little bit off the top, just a tiny little bit, just something for you to snack on. Not a huge meal. They went to Bro Durs. And
Two sides. I love ring bell spots. I wanted to say, busting Brian open on one is so good. Has Swerve done a cop killer before in AEW? I don't think so. Does anybody? I know we've had a homicide appearance, so I assume he did one, but I came alive for the cop killer in this match. You normally got to watch WBCW to see that move pulled off, but it's a perfect move if you're fighting somebody with a sore neck, which Bryan Danielson is. Flatten them like that. Again, the big pressure kick out spot was unforgettable. The no sell, unforgettable. And I want to give Swerve credit. AEW sometimes guys get a little cute and they never want to tap. Everybody wants to pass out.
yeah.
Everybody passes. Oh, I'm passing out. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm passing out. Swerve tapped out. He's like, Bryan Danielson is submitting me. I will tap out. I got respect for that.
Last thing I want to say about about Swerve Strickland's reign, I am just happy that meaningful reigns don't have to be more than a year, because I think having the title for a year is great for some people, but I would much rather some form of a carousel where you're constantly getting, like, you're both not devaluing the world title, but having it still feel fresh. And I think a few pay-per-views, a few big moments, that's all I need, because listen, everybody in AEW is positioned as being great wrestlers. So why wouldn't it be harder to retain titles? So
Definitely.
that's something I'm happy with, that we don't get another MJF, because the world title felt like nothing. And now it feels like this is the pinnacle of Bryan Danielson's career, a career that has spanned 25 years. If you can make that feel as big as it is, the world title just feels so much bigger than it was a year ago. And I love it. I love it. I love it.
Ashton Kutcher saying it well. Thank you, Samoa Joe. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Always. Just evergreen. Thank you, Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Just for everything.
Amazing that he wasn't a big part of this pay-per-view. He's just he's still so good.
I thought you might see him during the Hook match, but instead they saved maybe even something cooler. We'll get to that. I was losing it during that moment. We'll get to. Any match you want to jump? Do you want to talk about the Gauntlet next? I'm kind of excited to talk about the Gauntlet. Do you mind if we just sort of jump all over the place, popcorn style?
Popcorn style. Hit me with your Gauntlet, Josh.
Oh, RL asking me where's Mox. Oh, I don't feel so good.
Are you starting to feel worried?
Oh yeah, but I'm a nervous guy when it pertains to Mox, because everyone's always been like, he's never going back. And I'm like, he's one of the guys I could see going back most. Like, he has so much history there. I could see zillions of dollars being offered. Anyway, am I nervous? Yeah. Do I think he's going back to New York? No. But could it be nervous? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm
nervous.
more nervous about like his health because he hasn't looked great. Now, well, the fact that he hasn't been back in a while, it just, you know, all of the things that you saw in the past, you're just like, were these warning signs? I hope he's okay. I hope he's
Irish
okay.
Mac 21 saying Renee was all over the show though. Yeah, I think her contract's totally separate than his. I think he could be anywhere and she could still be there.
Yeah.
No Joe, Mox, or Eddie and still had a great show. Or Chope, says Niblitz05. That's true. Shout out Eddie Kingston back next year at All In, hopefully.
There's just so
Corvax
much-
66 saying, dude
much
stacked
going
all of his vacation time. That's too true. Mox has just been the Iron Horse. Why is he
Yeah,
supposed to go away?
John Moxley, a guy who would rather be on vacation than at the biggest show of the year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like this gauntlet was the.
Something's got to be up. Something's got to be up.
I know. I feel the same, Maddie. I feel like there must be something. I don't feel like he.
Yeah, you
From
think
what
he's
I
gonna
know
go
of
on? He's gonna go on vacation without Renee?
Good question, Ashton Kutcher. How long does the turkey treatment take? He could just be getting new hair put on.
He just comes back, flowing locks.
Looks like Elvis.
If John Moxley were to go to Turkey, all he would do is give himself still receding, but enough so he can put his hair down like this.
Yeah, it has the Dean Ambrose swoop back
Yeah,
thing.
he would be the first person to come back from Turkey without a full head of hair, just like a little bit less balding.
Danny Madal pointing out no Jay White either. That is interesting for a big England show, actually, now that you mention it. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, they've got the Union Jack in the flag in New Zealand.
The more you know. I mean, Jay White also in the Timothy Thatcher camp of no matter how English he isn't, you know, some guys are just English. They just, there's no getting around it.
The bing bing ging.
Somebody told me Timothy Thatcher's from California. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I've seen the guy.
Well, yeah.
He's not healthy, says Sever. Okay. I was about to say that's good. That's obviously not good. But in the way that he's.
Yeah. Oh,
there's a
thank
reason.
God he's not healthy.
Yeah. I like his long matches. Okay. Gauntlet match opens up with Orange Cassidy getting a Mr. Bean entrance. Matt, did you know this was the Mr. Bean entrance?
Nope.
Me neither.
I did not, but that's cool. I love.
Can I say something kind of inflammatory?
No. Yes.
I never really got it with Mr. Bean. Do people actually think it's super funny?
Uh,
Or is it like, oh, we all love because it's like an old thing that makes us comfortable?
I think little from column A, little from column B. People in England love when people don't understand customs and etiquette, because that's such a huge part of the fiber of the nation, the fabric of the nation, so he doesn't understand social settings, exactly what to do, and that's funny to him because it's just like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Mr.
I
Bean,
remember
Mr. Bean, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, you stupid old Bean.
Yeah. Your last name's Bean? What's your first name? Baked?
When we were in English class, my teacher, Mrs. Monday, like post like when there's just like exams and whatnot, we'd watch Mr. Bean.
Cartoon ass name. Miss Monday.
Yeah, teacher named Mrs. Monday, I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just show
Where'd
Mr.
you go?
Bean.
Garfield School?
Whoa. Hey. It was always Monday in her English class. I just never, I was like, I don't get it. What's so funny about this guy? He's just a numbskull.
You famously don't like like Michael Scott from The Office because you can't understand how somebody so stupid could be where they are. And I think this falls in line.
And that's Mr. Bean too.
Yeah. Maybe you don't. It's just like, why is it funny? He just sucks. I've been watching Reba, and I'm running into some problems with Barbara Jean, a character who is just too stupid and who just can't read social situations. And every time she does something, I'm like, fuck you, Barbara Jean. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm getting there. Maybe this is growing up.
Mr. Bean is mad that comedy has gone woke, says Fruits are edible. Yeah, literally, Mr. Bean literally can't say anything anymore.
Yeah, dumb face.
yeah.
He can speak sometimes, but he goes.
Is that speaking?
That's speaking for him. He was good
Orange
in,
Cassidy.
good in
gets
rat,
the Mr.
good in
Bean
rat
entrance.
race.
And then the following entrance. Now, for people not familiar, the Casino Gauntlet is just really a great match format. It's ostensibly a pins or submissions Royal Rumble, or the Gift of the Gods match for Lucha Underground heads. But you do not need every entrant in for the match to end. So in this match, we only got 12 competitors of a potential 21. And everybody's out there. First pinfall ends the match. I really like this. I hope that it just is a stalwart, a cornerstone piece of All In every year. And this is a nice way to get everybody on the card, and it's just incredibly fun, man. Orange Cassidy has joined first. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Maddie.
I was going to ask you, like something about modern media is they like to have little branches, little opportunities to branch off.
You're talking about the Mr. Bean universe.
Yeah. Sorry. Are we talking wrestling? I'm talking Bean.
Yeah, the multiverse of Bean.
When a wrestler feels slighted because it didn't get to their number and it gives them some sort of motivation, do you feel like that's a good angle to have? And do you feel like there's still meat on the bone of this isn't fair? That should have been my opportunity, but I was number 13. What do you think about that?
Maybe for a match, but Roderick Strong did that last time and got a title shot off of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's stupid. Like, the person who competes in the gauntlet match and wins gets a title shot. The person who wasn't in it gets the exact same thing. That felt a little much. But yeah, I think if the next two people want to have a singles match, you want to use that as a way to build a match on Dynamite or Collision, I think that's great.
Okay.
Correctional 66, I wouldn't mind the gauntlet being a focal point of a future pay-per-view. Me neither. Royal Rumble is done now. It can't compete, says Ashton Kutcher. Yep. And it's true that Mr. Bean can't say. That's very true, Kevso.
He would say happy. Oh, God, you can't even say that either.
Yeah, well, I mean, we should just censor any English guy slogan on here. Limey or blimey or whatever they're saying. God knows.
They're saying both, Josh.
God
If you
forbid.
can believe
Yeah.
it.
Probably what you see what they call pudding? It's like, oh, here's some pudding. It's like, back off, man.
This is bread, bitch.
Yeah, grow up. You're talking about. Rainmaker Okada joins Orange Cassidy, followed by the return after years and years and years and years. Nigel McGuinness makes his return to the ring to an enormous ovation in England. He's hugely over for this whole match. Really happy for him that he got to have this moment, not only in Wembley, not only as a surprise, but wrestling Okada for when he first enters the match. I mean, really a silver plattered, a nice moment for Nigel McGuinness as you could possibly give. Loved that. Then Kyle O'Reilly takes to the ring. And then, Maddie, I got up off my couch. I wasn't expecting that. I literally, whoa, when Young Punks hit the speakers and the winner of the G1 Climax 34 walks out, dude, Zack Sabre Jr. has a new swagger about him as this last year. Like, he knows he's the man in New Japan. And I thought he played he was like cool and casual in a way. Like, I don't know. He just came across like a star to me. Were you hyped to see ZSJ here?
Very, because I've been having, as anybody, concerns about New Japan and like who's next, and that the combination of feeling good for New Japan and also feeling good for like the relationship between New Japan and AEW, how you can just like borrow someone for a moment. It makes sense for both New Japan and AEW to have Zack Sabre Jr. in England to have a moment like this. And
100%.
it just like they had time for everyone in the Commonwealth. You know, they had space in their hearts for everyone in the Commonwealth and Mark Briscoe.
Save one dude. I've written down here. I thought that guy from Rev Pro, Michael Oku, would be here.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? Oku. He had dropped the Rev Pro title on Saturday night, and I thought he was really primed for a debut here.
Right.
But we have one of those coming up shortly. After Roderick Strong comes Mark Briscoe, who gets his just standard classic reaction here, or gigantic reaction. It's crazy how over Mark Briscoe is. I don't even know if it's spoken about enough. Like, he is crazy over right now.
It's every single his Q rating goes up every single time the camera's on him. He can do no wrong. He
He
can
doesn't even
only
have to do anything. He can just look or
he can
pose.
pose.
Like that's what being over is where it's just the seeing you, every mannerism, the people love you, and he has that, man,
Yeah.
in spades. After him, Jeff Jarrett, another gigantic reaction for Double J. I'm sort of classically a Jeff Jarrett hater on here, but I have no problem with him in like their Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
He gets an enormous reaction. Him and Hangman immediately make for each other once Hangman's out. I don't need Hangman dealing anymore with Jeff Jarrett at all. I think Hangman's just, it's good that, you know, he doesn't like the old man and they had a good match together, but I don't know, when they keep returning to it, it's like, man, do people like Jeff Jarrett? Like,
People
like,
were
I need
calling
more
for
Jeff
it.
Jarrett.
People were upset that they didn't give Jeff Jarrett more of a moment after, and there is just a lot of emotion. This is the most over Jeff Jarrett has been
in a long time
Scanning my Rolodex
since Christ was a cowboy.
Has anyone ever liked Jeff Jarrett ever? And people like him right now. So, but it's better for Jeff Jarrett than it is for Hangman. I think anyone could admit that it's more beneficial for Jeff Jarrett to be involved with Hangman than it is for Hangman to be involved with Jeff Jarrett. At least the
Hangman's, or rather, Jeff Jarrett's overness does help Hangman become less sympathetic, which is helpful. But
yeah,
besides that, I agree.
He's beating up an old man that people like instead of hell yeah, kill Jeff Jarrett every time he was on TV before. So
interested to get your thoughts on this next guy who comes out here, Maddie. Ricochet debuts in AEW. Your thoughts? I would say actually you're probably more familiar with Ricochet than people who watch this might guess. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I think he fits the mold of a wrestler I used to like more than I do now.
Sure.
I just think like I had quiet optimism about him in AEW. You know, if you take a wrestler like that and you make him bleed and you put him in uncomfortable situations, I do think that he can rise up. We know what he's capable of, but honestly, him in this match, it gave me some chills. It gave some of the I think to myself, I am a sicko, and you know I'm sicko adjacent, and I love, you know, chops and blood. I still love when people can contort their body and explode in a way that doesn't seem humanly possible. That's still part of wrestling that I love. And if you're gonna debut somebody, you make them hurt, like beat up every single person while looking extremely cool. He doesn't have to win it. Just like Ricochet is here, and it felt big. It felt like a big debut. There were fireworks in ring as well as on the ramp leading up to it. I think this is probably the best way he could have debuted. It was AJ Styles Royal Rumble-esque, and they were able to use Ricochet, which is really cool. You see Ricochet, like,
yeah, it is good that
Ricochet
they kept the name
instantly, and so he feels big, and it's just a matter of time before he can prove that he isn't just a federation, you know, a New York pilled wrestler, because he's still New York pilled in his mannerisms. But,
yeah, he really is.
But
before every movie, he's like,
but so was Athena. Athena when she debuted, and look at where she is now. I think there's always going to be hope. If somebody loves wrestling, they'll eventually learn what works in AEW, and I think that's the same. Like, look at Miro. I don't think he's a guy who loves wrestling. He doesn't scream as a guy who loves like getting down and dirty. He's the kind of wrestler who, like Andrade, I don't think he loves wrestling. I don't see him as he's
really good at it.
He's really good at it. But Ricochet feels like somebody who's always wanted to wrestle, and so I'll give him all the time and space in the world to prove to me that he can make it in AEW. I think his debut was very solid. I think his debut was not even solid, better than solid for who he is. But we'll have to wait and see if he can understand, if he can grasp what we we the people like.
Yeah, so to like a style, your default style, or like a guy you like, or at least for me, that's only just sort of where the floor starts,
Yeah.
right? And how hard it is. I think we all like the top end versions. I mean, not always, but like I'd like to think most wrestling fans would enjoy something like Josh Barnett and versus Minoru Suzuki. It's just
Yeah.
like so expertly, you can just see how poised and expert and craftsman the match is. And in the same way, when Ricochet does a springboard shooting star press like 10 seconds after arriving to the company, it's like, well, he's one of like one guy that could do that in the company. And so I have to agree with Sludge Williams where he says Ricochet needs to get thrown around. I'll go a step further. I'd have this guy not do like the Ricochet match for a while. I'd have him bleeding and working hosses and keep him away from the Ospreys and Fletchers and Action Andretti's. And I would save that. I think people want to see it at some point. Let him bust out that gear, maybe on Dynamite for his first appearance. You really do something like that. But I'm interested in something more akin to Ed Copeland or even Miro, who I don't like their work in New York very much. And then they come over and seem to have a renewed style or appreciation. So I'm willing to give Ricochet a chance, but yeah, as a default style, he's pretty removed from where my favorites would be.
Yeah, but it presents like a challenge for you as a wrestling fan, because it's not fun to not like what you watch.
Yeah.
What can Ricochet bring enough of a scent of a guy who gets it? And I think that, like, I still don't think I'll like, if Ed Copeland is wrestling, I'm still not like, oh, this is going to be good. But he has so much more respect for me than when he first debuted, because he's a guy who loves the business. He's a guy who loves wrestling. And I think that's honestly the bar for me is, do you love this shit? Do you love this shit? And if you do, I think that, like, even though I don't like watching you, I think Jack Perry is a good example of, he seems like he loves this shit. And I think that's part of why people are turning around on Jack Perry, is that, like, he keeps proving that he fucking loves this shit. And I think that's the bar for me. Can Ricochet prove that he loves this shit? And if he does, those flips will seem more impactful. Those flips will seem like he's trying to hurt somebody with them, as opposed to impress you by landing like Simone Biles after a floor routine. That's impressive.
The move I can do.
That's impressive. Even somebody who doesn't like it can admit that it's impressive. But if he can do that in a way that feels like he wants to hurt somebody, I think that's the difference. That's
you just
the
can't
bar.
only do it. You have to have like these moments where you remind people you're spectacular. But if everything you're doing just like that, nothing can feel spectacular.
Yeah. But yeah, and you also have to remember that some people love the flippy stuff. Like, we might think that Commander Junior, what's his name? Power Ranger guy.
Hologram.
People really like Hologram. The kids like Hologram.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
There is a space for that kind of thing, and people do like it. But you just...
Oh, sorry. You think they do? I thought you said kids like holograms. I was agreeing with that. I don't know if they...
Yeah, kids love Tupac. They keep bringing him up.
Why they're going to freaking Coachella. Out comes Christian, who I didn't even think about as an entrant to this match after his entry into the Trios title match earlier this evening. And then out comes Killswitch, who hits Kyle O'Reilly and first he hits Christian, then he hits Kyle O'Reilly, then he pulls Christian onto Kyle O'Reilly for the pin, giving Christian the win. I thought this was a little bit of a flat ending, but you got to do something. And Christian with the world title shot isn't the worst thing in the world for me. He's responsible for some good pay-per-view buy rates for AEW. I think him and Brian will be a fun match. I know Brian really likes him as a wrestler, so I wouldn't be surprised if Brian requested this. And we get more on this angle later. So that was the gauntlet match. I just had a blast watching this. I thought, and shout out to Wembley Stadium, who was just up for the whole thing, just fired up to see everybody. He came out as Luchasaurus here. That's right, Nimbus 05. Sorry, we haven't gotten to that part yet, but that was the big thing. Is you thought, oh, he's gonna be turned on Christian. He's rechristened himself. He's using Luchasaurus. Just a turn. Just tricking us.
Just tricking us and leaving meat on the bones. I sometimes I groan a little bit at wanting to extend things to oblivion because you can tell quick stories and they can be meaningful.
Totally.
And it's very New York to like tease the turn 3 times before he eventually does it a year ago, and people say storyline and cinema and other words maybe, but those are the keywords that they use. So I don't much care for will he, won't he, but I am curious to hear, okay, what's your reasoning for being frustrated and leaving? What's your reasoning for coming back as Luchasaurus? What's the reason for hitting Christian, but then winning for him and being happy for him? I have a feeling he's not going to tell me.
Yeah, he's not the most
Also,
talkative guy.
Luchasaurus running down that ramp, those that's a man who just is not supposed to run. I was reminded of hiking down from the Hope Lookout.
More of a lumber.
Yeah, I was just like, is he made of wood? What is happening? That's how I would run down that ramp, but he can kick pretty high. I don't understand it.
That's extremely funny. He didn't hit Christian. He just grabbed him and pretended he would choke slam him to lure Fletcher in. Sorry, that's correct. Grabs him. Damn. Remember, he's not a man. He's a dinosaur. That's so true, Irishman. All right, let's talk about this one here, Maddie. I thought really a feat. Put in a tough spot here, too, after the trios that opened us up. Second up here was Timeless Toni Storm versus Mariah May. Mariah gets an entrance, adorned in white, new Titantron, the glamour. She looks very big time here.
One of the best outfits I've seen in wrestling. That's one of her ring gear for this match was. It was perfect. It was.
I would have it to second only after everything Mina Shirakawa wears.
I just love I love that the Stardom gear is starting to really plant itself as like the default women's gear of just
you
like
can see its influence.
like you it doesn't just have to be like a bikini top and bottom with boots or something like that. It's all about like creating that Saiyan gear look.
Yeah.
Of like creating more triangulation. I feel like I'm turning into is it Kyle guy? Who's the menswear guy who
Guy workwear.
Yeah. I'm thinking there was he made a thread about like the use of shoulder pads and how it sort of it creates more triangulation with the body and it extends the shoulder line so it's further out than the waist and it creates sort of like power almost. And I love it. It's everywhere now. Just more fabric. Give me more fabric and give me more of that, because fantastic ring gear. Josh, I was probably as excited as you were for this, and I feel like we came out of it with similar thoughts. I'll let you take it.
We get a cool Timeless Toni Storm video package where it shows that she's actually already in the halls of Wembley Stadium as she performed there in 1924. Truly timeless. Luther is out next. He gets a big reaction from the Wembley Stadium crowd. And then our main eventer, Timeless Toni Storm, comes out. Not the main event tonight, but what Toni Storm has done to this division and the way she has transformed it under her ownership is remarkable. She's just, I've said this before, one of the all-time best signings for AEW, and the reaction here really sends that home. They open with the Fry Takayama can't keep their hands off each other hockey fight spot, and the intensity is there from the gate. A Thez press from Timeless Toni Storm gets the crowd off of their gate, or off of their feet, rather. Mariah hits a drop kick on Luther that really gets people pissed off, and then goes over, Matt, and slaps her own mother.
Unforgivable.
What would happen if you slapped Lori? What would happen to your life?
I asked Caitlin the same thing. Like, could you imagine slapping your mother? This match kicked so much ass, and I think that if it was put in the main event of a smaller pay-per-view and was given more time, and maybe that will happen down the road, everything in this match, for me watching it, was just like, it just felt so huge. And her slapping her mom was, I think, while she was bloodied already, she just slapped her, and I'm like, they look so similar. There was just something about that moment where I'm like, why did that happen? I'm so curious. Why did she just slap her own mother? And shouts out to the mother for a GWGI. That
Great
is
sell by mom.
great sell. Take
Down
it
like
back.
a sack of potatoes.
Why did my daughter slap me? And that was a slap. That was just a
Oh, yeah.
slap.
She was like, Mom, I'm gonna belt you. And her mom was like, yeah, okay. And they said, no, I'm gonna give you the old how she going.
Yeah.
You go down.
It would be so cool if like her mom was just a through and through wrestling fan her whole life.
Yeah,
And this was just
a
like,
big moment.
what if this was a bigger moment for her mom than it was for Mariah?
That would genuinely rule. Her mom's just the happiest guy
Yeah.
on planet Earth.
You
Like,
see
I saw it all in.
that?
Then Mariah breaks into the Tony Storm move set, puts Tony in the corner and hits her with 3 hip attacks, all really laid in. Well sold by Tony too, flailing her head way back. Then the 4th is finally interrupted. Tony Storm gets back on offense, does some more of her old-timey wrestling. Then they get into a double low blow, double headbutt sequence, and then a double down, and the crowd is really up during this
Come
part.
on, just impactful. Even the for that 4th hip attack when Tony Storm just gets up and clocks her with a clothesline. Everything was just like, oh God, it looked like it hurt. I
It
loved
really did. The entire match was so laid in. Again, a lot of these matches had that, if not now, then when, Wembley Stadium moment. If you were
Yep.
ever going to get after it and give it all, that was the one to do on it. And they absolutely did. Mariah goes for the belt to do an attack on Tony. Real theme of the night tonight, going for belt attacks. And Luther grabs the belt and gives her the finger. So Luther gets his big moment. Nice to see. I thought Luther, it was charming how much people, because you're like me, you've seen Luther in every dumpy hall out here. He was Dr. Luther at our locals years ago.
I remember even when he came back after like a long hiatus, and I didn't know who Luther was, and people were just like, "Oh yeah, this guy used to be the big, the big thing," and he just comes
The
out
hardcore guy for the
Yeah.
PNW.
I think it was like some sort of angle with the owner, whatever his name was, but that it's weird seeing somebody at the Sapperton Pensioners Hall and Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, again, attached to a title match in Wembley. I agree with Baseball here. All the strikes tonight sounded awesome. Probably the
Oh.
best an AW ring has been mic'd. It really, that was noticeable on the show tonight.
Quick question, Josh. Do you
Yeah.
like the barricade hitting? Do you like that sound?
Yeah, definitely. It reminds me of old Ring of Honor. And I don't like the LED screen, so it's win-win for me. Just run those barricades everywhere. Yeah, do you?
I think so. It started in Cardiff the first time I heard it, and then in Wembley, just like it makes it feel like a European, like a EuroLeague basketball game. There's a completely different crowd than a basketball game in North America. So I hope it continues.
I think it will. Mariah May ends this with a knee to the back of the head, then a kiss and a Storm Zero.
Come
1,
on.
2, 3. A full 7 from Scoots Brodowies is about to say, right, Scoots?
Full 7.
That's his
Exactly
voice.
right.
That's the guy who ate a lemon, maybe.
I think. Well, that was. Did Scoots Brodo eat the lemon? Is sort of the all-time keep it or kick it. Did he eat the whole lemon? Was the dun, 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 dun.
Imagine eating an entire lemon and having to go through that, but
And then
not
people are just questioning it.
but
forever.
not doing it, but putting the lemon in his mouth before he goes on camera.
Yeah, that was an inspired choice. I don't know. It was an interesting choice. It was like, oh, you're going.
You have to go through the entire ingestion of a lemon, but people doubt you. You do it on camera too, and people doubt you.
We're gonna have to get Scoots onto a meltdown or a battle house or something to put this to bed. Next time you're ready to eat a lemon, Scoots, you let us know.
All out post show.
An all out post show? Yeah, we'll probably do a post show for all out, I would think.
It's a lemon party time.
Okay. Mariah May picks up the win, gets booed out of the building as she exits, but then Toni Storm does get her moment as she sort of starts doing her swimming thing and the thank you Tony chants, and they're singing. The English love to sing, as you know. They're always saying ooh da 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 ooh da da. They're always saying ooh da da about something.
Oh, di 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 di. Oh, once I saw a lassie, I really loved her. Oh, we had some fun, and then there was some laughter. I think that's
It's more, more Irish.
Nope.
No, the English like to sing more like if it was about a lass who liked them, they'd be like, "Oh da da, there's a lass. Oh da 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 da. She likes me. Oh da 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 da." Like that's.
Can you like a thing? Can you like a thing? We can hear a fucking thing.
Yeah. As an American in an MLS game.
Right.
Really a fantastic match though here from Mariah May and Toni Storm. Not easy to put on a match that feels evocative of your feud and is exciting moment to moment, and these two really captured it. Mariah May feels made. I'm really curious to see where she goes. Is Willow Nightingale up after All Out for? Well, she's gonna have an All Out match. Maybe that's a Tony rematch. I don't really have great clarity. Oh, maybe Julia Hart.
Mina Shirakawa was in the audience.
It's got to be Mina. What am I talking about? You're 100% right. Yeah, it'll be Mina at All Out, and I'll be tuning into that. You make no mistake. I'll be tuning in. Mariah May's run is just going to be awesome. Like Toni Storm set her up in the best way possible. I don't know if Tony goes away for a little bit now, but I don't want us to forget how great Toni Storm has been. And she's handed off to somebody great. Really excited to see Mariah May at the top of this card.
She took the car from Children of Men, where the fishes were. She took that car and she pushed it while in neutral down to the end of the street so that the rest of the women's division could jumpstart the car by the end of the hill and drive away. That's what she's done. She's taken something that was lifeless and breathed more like the breath of life that she put into it was more than any lung capacity can handle. I cannot stress enough how important Toni Storm has been to this, because this was my second favorite match on the card. A card filled with great matches. It was just perfect, and it was exactly what women's wrestling can be, which is it's its own thing. It doesn't have to be anything but its own thing. It doesn't have to be stacked up to what Will Ospreay does or anything like that. There is so much emotion, hard hitting, athleticism on display, but just like this beautiful dramatic match that is just not something you got with the rest of the card, in my opinion. And that's why it was so special. If it could have gotten, it's probably not the last time they'll face each other, and I think the next match is going to be even more special. This is what women's wrestling can and should be. This is the pinnacle of it, and it's the pinnacle of it right now. It's only going to get better because of what Toni Storm did, by being silly, by starting off being silly. It's crazy.
She really has just taken it all and put it into this character. And like you say, a real journey traveled. Matt, I have to go for 2 minutes. Would you rather talk on your own about MJF versus Ospreay or Jack versus Darby Allin?
I'll talk Jack versus Darby Allin for 2 minutes here.
2 minutes. And feel free to ask the chat a question or something if you need a sec. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Thank you, Tony from Culture of Losing. Thank you, Tony, big time. But this was a match, and I don't have the skill that Josh has of taking you through how this match came to be. I'll only talk 2 minutes about one thing that maybe Josh and I disagree with, and it's so much easier to disagree with him when he's not on the air. And that is what Jack Perry has done for himself, and how this company has put Jack Perry in a position. The match was pretty one-sided, and surprisingly so. This is Darby Allin's specialty, and Jack Perry and commentary did a great job of taking you through how he neutralized Darby, how he was able to counter his aggression and use it against him. Jack Perry got some chance, and Jack Perry managed to get a "fuck CM Punk" chant. There were moments where he brought out the broken glass and put it down there. Jack Perry, king of facial expressions. If he could promo just by using facial expressions, that would be great. But just the fact that he was able to, from where he was a year ago, he was persona non grata. He called himself the scapegoat when he resurfaced in New Japan, and people were like, whatever, man, I don't want to hear about this. If you're the reason CM Punk left, fuck you. Fast forward to where we are. Yeah, Jack Perry should promo like Mr. Bean. Thank you, RL. I agree. Bumbling idiot. The fact is, instead of having CM Punk was always going to be a specter over anything that Jack Perry did. CM Punk was always going to be a black cloud over the Young Bucks, and he will continue to be a talking point for AEW as long as AEW is still in its current iteration with the Elite where they are. And I just think it's something. It's a very interesting thing. I'm impressed personally, but it's a very interesting thing to creatively to release the all-in footage from last year, to do everything they did to put Jack Perry where he is now. They were anti CM Punk. There were people who were still chanting CM Punk. He got a scapegoat chant. It's really interesting to see where he is now, even though he's a flawed wrestler. He's proving time and time again that he gets it, that he loves this shit. And that was my main takeaway, was just like, okay, he's still not my favorite. I still don't really like him. But I'm going to watch him, and I'm going to be intrigued. And I'm going to boo him because he's a bad guy. He's a bad boy now. I think that I appreciate that they were able to take the fact that CM Punk is always going to be in the conversation of Jack Perry and use it, I think, to their advantage. I think they've managed to take the fact that that CM Punk is always going to be associated with this and turn it into I think a positive. I would say it's a positive, even though, you know, you're talking about somebody who's no longer in the company. I still think it's a positive. Josh, I just talked about like Jack Perry, his relation to the wrestling world, and the fact that you know, it was an interesting move to have him just like expertly pick apart Darby Allin. And I think that's something that you mentioned to me before. What do you think about the fact that he won quite handily?
I think this match was supposed to be longer, and the Wembley curfew, and they knew they needed the time for Bryan and Swerve, so they just sort of adjusted to a straightforward ass kicking where Jack Perry gets to look tough. You get the big Sting moment at the end, which is unbelievable. Yeah, Jack Perry needs a signature TNT title win. I said this on the preview show. His run basically doesn't exist. Him and the Young Bucks don't really defend those titles. The TNT of the tags. I disagree with you. I think that the CM Punk just isn't in the company. And so I just think that drawing attention to him in that feud as a source of heat, there's probably ways to be done. But then the crowd, like, the crowd goes, fuck CM Punk, fuck CM Punk. And then 2 minutes later, it's like, CM Punk, CM Punk. And it's like, do you need to be, we have Darby Allin wrestling here. And I get what you mean. He's definitely, it's a way of dealing with it.
Yeah.
That is better than never ever talking about it, or, you know, this vow of silence. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to get anything from this match. This was my most anticipated match of the night. I felt like it was really underdelivered. It was still fun to watch and good, but just sort of a straightforward sprint. I saw people complaining about Sting said he was retired. You're an idiot. If you think that, stop it. I don't want Sting to stay retired.
You're dumb. Y-O-U-R dumb.
You're dumb. You don't want to see Sting? You didn't have fun when I knew it was coming. Everyone knew it was coming. When Darby's getting the gasoline, I didn't know it was going to be Seek and Destroy. But you know, the Young Bucks are coming in gasoline. It's like, and like Sting comes out with a bat. You want the guy to stay retired? Rob yourself of that moment. You have fun on bland Jello Island, dude. I'll take the guy who's like retirement. Fuck that.
They
I had 6
used-
weeks off.
They use such specific wording about Sting's involvement going forward.
Yeah, be
for
keeping an
a-
eye on AEW.
I'm gonna keep an eye on AEW, but I'm not gonna be like I'm retired as a wrestler. You see him out there do you see him out there doing anything other than spray paint the top of his head and swing his bat around? There was a picture. I think he's grown out I think he's fully gray, at like white hair almost. I saw an image of him. Respect the Sting. He's an old guy, and like he should be allowed to be old. But it was nice that I think the makeup department could have helped him a little bit more than they did.
Yeah. One more layer. I was just awesome to see him. The involvement of Sting is. If I'm Darby Allin, man, first of all, I love how public Darby is about just never wanting to go to WWE. It's like, I'm never going to do it. I hate it there. Like, I'm not doing what I want it. But like on top of all of that, no matter what AEW gave him, they're like, oh yeah, when other people call for backup, they get their old faction mates or an old tag team. You get Metallica and you get Sting. Oh yeah, Darby needs a hand. Like that's an incredible aspect to your character. Oh yeah, I can summon Sting. We love it. Oh, I didn't love this one though. Let's talk a little MJF and Will Ospreay. Okay, I'm gonna do a keep it or kick it here. The first of the evening. That's just a little for laughs. Okay. Keep it or kick it. Everybody knows the rules. This statement: video game themed pro wrestling entrances.
Keep it or kick it. Keep it or kick it. Keep it or kick it.
Oh shit! What is going on?
Keep it or kick it.
Get
Loud.
Keep it.
Let's get
Keep it.
loud.
Keep it. Kick it. Keep it. Kick it. Keep it.
I will only bring out the slowdown for the real stinkers.
Keep it. Kick it. Keep it.
Unanimous kicks in the chat.
It's
And yeah, that's correct.
I don't think we need a second run through. I think we get the point of like.
I wouldn't trade even one that I loved for like Will Ospreay is so cool and Assassin's Creed is so lame. And okay, let me say this. I love that AEW is the company where guys can go out and like this can happen. Clearly he has some sort of brand deal with the new Assassin's Creed game he actually likes and has tattooed on his body. For Will Ospreay, I bet this is the shit, and that's cool. So let me put that over there. Over in New York or the UFC, like you get this music and this you will look at this. It's cool that it does tell you a bit about a guy's instincts though, which it's not. It's like, oh man, bro, the coolest thing. It's like, man, it ain't Assassin's Creed. Get into FromSoft, brother.
I got a question.
But I wouldn't
for
trade
you.
like one Metal Gear Solid entrance for all this stuff.
Now, in saying that how stinky video game entrances are, if gun to your head, Josh, you're going out to Wembley Stadium and you need one video game theme, and this is for the chat too, because obviously he's doing this because he loves Assassin's Creed and his entire life has been guided by those assassins that can jump. What would that be for you? And is there music?
It's so
associated
easy
with it?
for me. I'm putting on the fatigues. I'm putting on the iPad. Snake Eater on the speakers. I'm crawling. What a thrill. From darkness and silence to the night.
Now, okay, going further, because this is Wembley, so it should be sung live by a singer of your choice. Who is singing Snake Eater?
Matt Prince. You had a question? Easy question of my life.
Okay, I'll do some practicing.
What about you? Is there a video game entrance you do and enjoy?
Oh man, it's one of those moments where I didn't actually have something prepared, But if I had,
You're just Super Mario.
yeah, I just like
Yeah.
jump on a bunch of turtles on the way to the ring.
You do a leg drop, but with you put your fist up first.
Yeah,
Somebody must have done a Super Mario match out there. It's definitely happened.
come on.
Indie.
I'm
There's
sure.
no
I'm
way.
sure TJP is cycling through royalty-free stuff. I feel like for me, it would have to be Grand Theft Auto 4 with. I'm trying to make my way to the ring, and I'm constantly having to answer to Roman and go bowling with him.
Yeah, I'm dressed as Roman beside you. I have like a bowl. I'm like constantly tapping you on the shoulder. Like all behind you.
Yeah,
Hey.
I ignore you once for bowling, and you're obviously upset with me.
That's the turn. I just bash you over the head with the bowling ball. We bowl on my terms, Roman.
Nico.
You can tell how much I want to talk about Ospreay. And okay, MJF, he comes out as Apollo Creed. That's a little cooler, dressing like a Rocky character. I just don't like these guys together, man. I don't like their promos together. I don't like their matches together. I didn't like their TV event match. Well, I liked it. Listen, everything they do super well performed. Who could possibly dump on the execution of this stuff? I like last night at GCW. I liked some matches that were just moves, or some senseless death matches that had zero psychology and were just hyper violent. I like that stuff. But for some reason, I think I tweeted this out at our account. I just think both of these guys are naturally a little hammy.
Mhm.
And then when they come together, the cheese factor, just every move these guys are either going to the crowd or selling with a giant face. It feels like they're both like they come out like OXT brained when they hit each other, in my opinion. And it just, there's so many kickouts, so many big moves. And again, if I'm loving a match, I don't pick apart in these ways, but I don't know. Something about it wasn't meshing like gel to me. I just don't like them as opponents, MJF and Ospreay. I don't think they bring out the best in each other.
I'm on the opposite end from you on a lot of it, but I can totally understand the fatigue. When you're watching a match like this and you are glued to the TV in every moment, you might be disappointed by the fact that the devaluing. Listen, devaluing a finisher or a move isn't about no selling it. That's not something that's going to devalue a move necessarily. There could be so many reasons why, like the Busaiku knee in the main event, Swerve shaking it off. That is a moment. Devaluing something, I think, is just multiplying that. And
Yeah.
so it's the fatigue happens when, like, on an entire card. This was I think SummerSlam, or it was some sort of WWE card, and Dave Meltzer had come under fire for saying, like, there needs to be better production in these things, because they did a shoulder spot in multiple matches where people hit their shoulder on the ring post.
Yeah, the agenting, they call
The
that.
agenting, that's there needs to be better agenting with this kind of thing, because wrestling, although it's like long-term storyline, everything like that, wrestling in its purest form is going down to the bingo hall and watching people and being able to be invested in things even if you don't know who anyone is. And so when something can be put under a microscope like this, and you can say from the minute it started to the minute it ended, these things happened X amount of times, like 10 times. Say there were 10 times where there was a kick out where you just didn't believe it, because, and the surprised face at somebody kicking out, if that happens a bunch of times in one match, that surprised face becomes stupid. It becomes like soy face, It's like,
Yeah.
stop doing that. That's really annoying. And I think that's where this match, I can understand, like, the fatigue of it, because it happens in such quick succession. It's so explosive, but you're devaluing the first time it happened by doing it the 10th time in the same match.
For sure.
That being said, I don't think I could possibly take away, like, the talking about the Tiger Driver is only annoying because it went on for about a year.
Yeah. And because Brian wasn't hurt again.
And because Brian wasn't hurt. But if they were able to do that a lot better, this would have been even bigger than it was. The ending of the match was electric. and I hooted and I hollered. And in the end, that's what pro wrestling is about. So for all the match's flaws, it was still two people telling a story in a clunky way, but there were still clear characters on each side, even if you don't agree with how they got there. It was clear, like, the separation between the two. It's really annoying that the entire story has to be that, like, I'm in it for good matches and you're in it just to make money, or whatever the story was. It's so annoying that I had to sit through all of that in order to get to the end of a match, which was and like the end of the match, which was these guys hate each other. MJF will do anything to beat him, but Will Ospreay was able to tap into something that he didn't want to in order to get the job done, and that Tiger Drive that looked brutal. It looked like it hurt so bad. So the ends don't justify the means, but the ends were still pretty friggin' fun.
Agreed. I think I said this in the Discord again. You can join at patreon.com/J0SHC. I think the ending of this match was perfect.
Yep.
Like, I didn't love it, but from Daniel Garcia running in, who I thought he looked fantastic. I don't know if he's bulked up or the buzz head or what it was. I thought Daniel Garcia looked fantastic there, revealing himself as the masked man. He was always going to stay. I think Zoobs and I were pretty clear about that on the show. No need to panic. But now he's going to get a big feud with MJF, which is exciting. And I thought he looked great. And then thank God they actually ended it with the Tiger Driver. And credit to MJF for selling to 100. Just stayed down forever after taking that move. It's wild. I'm obsessed with seeing guys take it now. It is cool to see, like, how they put their head so far forward, and you can tell they're kind of like, all right, man. But Ospreay's just such a pro that he knows exactly where to put you.
Oh,
Kenny kind of down on one shoulder.
Speaking of pro, there was another moment in the match where Will Ospreay was on the top turnbuckle and MJF was draped over the ropes.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just the fact that it was obviously it's going to be perfectly executed, and he like, I don't remember if it was like an elbow drop. So it was some sort of move where he landed on his feet and caused MJF to bounce and land directly on his back right in front of him for the pin.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was seeing Will Ospreay's gears turn when he's on the top turnbuckle and he's sizing him up. It's like you could see. It's like he was an android with, like, analyzing the situation. He was
Neo Matrix numbers on him.
It was just like, I have to hit him exactly in this way for this to happen, and I have to say, like I said it at the start, I'll say it again. I still get up for just, like, truly brilliant athleticism. It has to be done on a high level to get me going. Like, I'm not just gonna. I don't exactly pop for, like, a moonsault or something like that. But these moments of pure athleticism from Will Ospreay and from Ricochet earlier, those moments still, they make me hoot, they make me holler, and that's what I want.
Yeah, I very well performed match. It just wasn't in the vein of my style, but yep. I'm very happy for Daniel Garcia to be here. I think the way I can surmise these two matching up is by the pile driver in this match, where MJF grabs it and they, like, jump and then, like, spring both of them, boing, and it's like, this just isn't, like, not everything is, look how little gravity I can get. Thank you for the follow. Kilgore Trout, 1983. Shout out Kurt Vonnegut. All right, next matchup. Oh yeah, I should mention also Christopher Daniels brings out the international title at the end and gives it to Will Ospreay. So the title is restored. No longer the American title. We're back, baby.
MJF is so fucking stupid sometimes.
Yeah,
just like he's just getting in his own way. And he comes back and he says, all that stuff, I'm past it. And he proceeds to just be this dorky little sumbitch. I am like, he made the American title and paraded that around for a little bit, and now he was grabbed by his shorts and thrown out of the bar. Like, I wish he was better. I'm starting to doubt that he can get back to where he was.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I can sort of feel people's opinion turning on MJF a little bit, but I think he's capable of such greatness that he'll figure it out. I really do
Show
think
me.
that.
Show me,
Yeah.
because this you have more control than you've ever had. You
Yeah.
have more say than you've ever had, and you're as not over as you have been in a long time. And I just can't imagine he's the type of person that would let go of what he thinks is right. Where he is now, he's been propped up as this rich, top of the card earner. I will go out on a limb and say he's going to Cody Rhodes in a way that it's similar down to the fact down to he's going to start losing the crowd. He's going to want to be in positions, and the business side of things will get in the way, and he will want to leave, and then he'll go to New York and be an absolute star.
This is a big prediction.
I think
He
so.
did just resign for years and years, so I don't know if it's the most likely, but there you go. Also, I feel like to Cody, you have to be unwilling to turn heel, whereas I think MJF's problem is more like John Cena's, where he's unbuyable as a babyface, but people kind of like they're so eager for the heel stuff that it would play as babyface. Sever asking, what's even next for MJF? I think he'll beat Daniel Garcia.
Yeah. I just think, and I guess it's going to be more long term. Who knows, like, what the actual contract is? What if there's some sort of option put in place? But I just think that eventually MJF is going to lose control of who his character is. He's going to have to relinquish some of the control of who his character is, and there's going to be more money thrown at him to say, come here, you can do whatever you want. And then he's going to go over to the next company. He's going to get what he wants for a year. And he's going to turn into, I'm seeing public opinion of Cody Rhodes starting to turn already in the Fed.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. Hopefully people are getting wise.
What a fucking
Adrenaline, nowhere to be found in his soul. Okay. You said you want to talk about this one, Maddie, so I'll let you lead off. It's Mercedes Moné versus Britt Baker for the TBS title. I had said on the preview show, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, that I felt like there was a lot of pressure on Britt Baker in this match, that I felt like people are going to be harshly judging her one way or another based off this match. That if it was good, she was going to get none of the credit. And all the credit would go to Mercedes if it was good, and all the blame would go to Britt if it was bad, which is never a great spot to find yourself in as a performer. Actually, Maddie, before I let you talk on this one, sorry, we'll go to a keep it or kick it, and then we'll let that lead our discussion here. Sorry about that. I just don't want to get my take on this before the keep it or kick it. Keep it or kick it. Britt Baker should be given more big spots in the women's divisions of AEW.
Keep it or kick it. 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 Keep it, kick it, keep it, kick it, keep it, keep it, kick it, keep it, kick it, keep it, keep it, kick it, keep it, kick it, keep it, keep it, kick it, keep it, kick it, keep it. Keep it or kick 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 it. Keep it, kick it, keep it, kick it, keep it, keep it, kick it, keep it, kick it, keep it, keep it, kick it, keep it, kick it, keep it, keep it, kick it, keep it, kick it. Come on.
Thank you for the subscription, Irish Mac 21 with Amazon Prime. Remember, if you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription. Please use it on us. Matt's he's eating tin cans.
My camera stand broke, and if there's any better reason to subscribe with Prime, because remember, I get a portion, I get a little something. Eventually, listen.
We never promised that.
You did say it was coming, and that means the world to me.
Yeah, we said down the line there could be rewards, I think is how we put it.
And I know exactly what that means, and all I need is a little bit more patience.
Yeah, exactly right. Patience builds character.
I'm so sorry that I haven't been as patient as I could be. Please forgive me.
Yeah, well, also, you're getting exposure dollars being on here. You haven't even considered that.
Oh, I consider it. I consider how considerate you've been with your exposure.
Yeah, wow, what nice guys we are. Oh my goodness. Maddie, what are the people saying? And then what do you think about Mercedes being used in AEW big spots going forward?
About Britt Baker having big moments. I think, well, if we look at the chat, we got Sever 1 with a kick, Niblitz 05 with a kick, Corvax 1266 with a kick, Sledge Williams with a kick, Kev Sub with a kick, Julie Begins with a kick, Fruits Edible with a kick, Gandalf Lundgren with a keep, and Pacefall with a keep. But we got Irish Mac with a kick, and then no clue what this is with a keep. No clue what this is with an interesting statement at the end of the keep, which is sort of where I'm at with it. She literally just came back, and I understand that she did just come back. I don't think that you can look at Britt Baker with the same lens that you can with other stars. She is just in such a unique position of representing where the division was before and where it is now. She just came back, and that's right. She just came back, and she's wrestling Mercedes Moné, who's maybe the best in-ring performer on the planet. And it's not, you don't expect it to be perfect. Listen, Mercedes wasn't perfect in her first match, but she showed you exactly who she could be. So yes, she just came back, but there's just so much more of a microscope with her because she comes back. She's in much better shape. Okay, so that's going to solve a lot of the athleticism side of things. Just because you're in shape doesn't mean you're more athletic. There's a stark difference between athleticism and physique. The physique might help with endurance. Listen, it might also not help with endurance. She has almost no fat on her body. It's all muscle. And oxygen has to go to go through your body, through the blood, in order to keep up your endurance. And it takes more effort when you have more muscle versus not. The Diaz brothers have never had good physique. However, they are some of the most athletic people in combat sports of all time.
When you think of even like the pro wrestling Ironmans, like CM Punk, Ric Flair, these are the guys who are always known for like, oh yeah, put me in at number 1 in the Rumble, no problem. They're not, neither of them would you describe as yoked.
So she has a place in the women's division, but and it is her first match, and like she might be able to get a little bit better than this. But the crowd doesn't care about athleticism as much as they care about the wrestling match that is happening in the ring. And there were just too many moments of this match where they didn't give a fuck. They couldn't have cared less.
The crowd was so dead here for Mercedes and Britt. Listen, okay. I thought Britt looked kind of bad, just flatly. I thought she looked sort of out of step. Mercedes has been the high bar for so many of the women on the roster, or just women wrestlers in general. Many of them's best match is with Mercedes Moné. I thought Britt looked out of time, uncomfortable, and the crowd could feel it. Wembley was dead for this match, and they were ready to bring the heat whenever the heat was brought tonight. So I don't know. I'm not as willing. You combine this with some of the backstage stuff that we're hearing and her general difficulties, and one day you're the cock of the walk, the next day you're the feather duster, man. Like Britt Baker was sort of seen as the high spot of this division, both in its promo and star power ways, and now some people are willing to give the benefit of the doubt to her and rely on that. I see Sever One here saying she's going to become the female Jericho, or somebody just has people in her orbit. And that's maybe not the worst use, because she does carry some star power. But in terms of like getting a Mercedes Moné or another title shot, I think that's to give Jamie Hayter plow through her, who they had return on the pre-show tonight. What?
I think there's conflict with her and Britt Baker. The relationship, according to Sean Corn, has dissolved.
Yeah.
And so that's why you can't have her come back in that capacity. I was thinking maybe she'd come back and screw Britt over, and that was part of the story. But we'll have to wait and see with Jamie Hayter it sucks because that tells you what the company thinks of Jamie Hayter.
Yeah.
That they're not going to put her immediately back to where she was. She's going to have to scrape and claw like she did to get to where she was. And if we get to watch that on TV, that's great.
Yeah, exactly right. Personal issues draw money, man. Like I don't understand this. It's like, oh, Jamie Hayter and Britt have issues. It's like perfect. Like awesome. They should feud.
Britt's entire, whatever Britt was saying, her entire ethos of her entire angle going into with Mercedes Moné was, I represent AEW. She's drawing attention to the fact that she's been there the whole time, and there's the flaw in that is the women's division has never been. It's so much better now.
That is flawed. You're right.
So she's grasping at the fact that she was the first signing. That's great. She was she was always in the main event. In term, like she was always in the main event scene of the women's division, I should say. And she's drawing attention to the fact that she's always been AEW. It's just not it's not working for me. You nailed it with like the backstage issues. She's always like it made us feel as though Thunder Rosa was always the problem. And then the second she comes back, there's more issues. I just think
it feels smoke fire situation.
I think that there's a real parallel with Jericho in how she sees herself, similar to how Jericho sees himself.
True. There's a lot of ego there.
There's a lot of ego there. There's a lot of backstage issues, and she's not that good of a wrestler. And she might be a little bit. The only reason why I think where her athleticism helped her was the fact that the crescendo of this match was about 3/4 in, and then it died out again. But the crowd was into the match at some point, and I don't think
Camille involvement brought this to life. Ironically, like they do this whole sequence where Camille yanks out the ref, and then she comes in, and Britt does the Eddie Guerrero spot, and there's this meta context because everybody knows that Mercedes Moné's favorite wrestler is Eddie Guerrero. She does the fake belt hit where she gives Camille the belt, and then she bumps to make it look like, and that gets the ref thrown. And the crowd is into it at that point. I agree with Cobalt Reborn here. The spot on the card is tough after the barn burner and before the coffin match. But I don't know. It wasn't given any favors, but by the same token, where's the good spot on this card? Like you want to follow the gauntlet match. You want to follow Osprey and MJF did, it's tough. There's not like a clear spot to jump in. Mariah and Tony, this emotion laden sort of monster. It's tough.
The spot on the card does do something to explain why the crowd wasn't into it, but it doesn't explain why I wasn't into it necessarily.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. It is a factor for sure. And does this concern you at all about Mercedes and her star power, in that 2 of her pay-per-view matches have been completely dead from the crowd?
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Or at least I don't care that much.
I'm keeping my eye out on it because I really liked the Stephanie Vacker match. The crowd was completely dead, but it was Short Island. But this is a bigger island.
Short Island's a terrible place, and I think that Mercedes just might be one of those people that needs like sort of an equal, or they're like, it's feuds that sell in wrestling. Stars sell in wrestling, but feuds are, you can have 2 bad wrestlers in a hot feud, and you can have 2 good wrestlers in a bad feud. And so you just need to find an opponent that people can get on fire with. I don't think besides Britt, she's really been given anything super meaty. It's been a lot of one-off sort of, Azumi and like you say, Stephanie Vaquer. So
and Cobalt, just like the reason, like the kayfabe reason for the Eddie Guerrero spot was just to even the odds. Camille was a big presence there, and Camille could have been the reason she lost. She did it so that Camille would get kicked out, and the rest of the match was a level playing field. That's all.
Yeah. Also, questions like that are always frustrating to me, where it's like the real answer is I don't want the wrestlers to be treated like idiots. We all know that's not going to happen. Like that, no ref has ever called it in the history of AEW. There's no reason for any of its competitors to be like, oh, if a ref catches me faking this with Camille, they're going to DQ me and give it to Mercedes. Like, they know the refs are playing it loose. It's the same. You watch boxing, you watch UFC, the high-end people know what ref they have reffing their matches, and they know what to play to. They know when to cheat. They live in AEW. In the universe of AEW, that's never going to happen. It's like they're not studying the rule book. They live in the real world. All right. Question time, Maddie, before we get on to the next match here.
Oh, answer time.
Question time. It's question time. Mercedes' hottest match so far was the Willow in a Great Feud. Agrees, everyone. That was the highlight.
Yep.
And I really loved their first one too, which is tremendous. All right, question time. I want to know, chat, and Maddie, can you cue up some sort of music? I don't really care what it is. Just give the people a second, any post-show show, or you can just play one of our theme songs. You can play Forced Abstract. You can play 20 Count here. Whatever you like. As I ask the people, I want to know your top 2 matches of the night in order. Best match of the night, and then number 2. Hit them with some tunes here, Maddie. I love this one. This is your go-to for this match. Okay.
I'm in hell. I'm in hell. I'm in hell.
Play it one more time here, Maddie. I got to get Midge down. She's so old and fat.
Let's see. What's this one?
Very nice, man. Thank you. My cat is so old and so fat. My goodness. Get it down
How
to my
old
lap.
and fat is your cat?
She is 14 years of age at 21 pounds.
I was set. You know, my cat is so
So
fat.
fat.
How fat is she? 14 pounds.
Yeah, well, I'm keeping it English. Keeping their currency.
Yeah.
All right, Maddie, what are the people saying here? What were their matches of the night?
It's an interesting one. Let's see, where does it start here? Fruits are edible, obviously, with the What's Matthew Eating, wanting that song for it. Pacefall saying Bryan Daniel, Swerve, and Mariah Toney, which is we match up there. Good to. We got Swerve Danielson, Mariah Toney again from Fruits are Edible. We got Niblets 05, BD Swerve, and Mariah Toney. Wow, I thought I was the main event. Mariah Toney. Sludge saying Swerve Danielson and Perry Darby. That's an interesting one, Sludge. That's an interesting one. Swerve, Trilly McGinnis. Let's see. Fruits of Evil saying I was in a weekend video. No, I was in hell. We got Sever with Swerve Danielson and Gauntlet, which I suspect could be similar to one Joshua. Torque Pendulum saying Maine and Tony Mariah. Corvax again, BD Swerve, Tony Mariah, Gandalf Lundgren, Swerve Danielson, Storm May. I love how everyone has said it differently.
yeah, there is no uniform. That is nice. We're all viewing these things, the subjectivity. I'm with the majority here, the 2 title matches. But yeah, your guess is right, Maddie. The Gauntlet would be my 3rd place match here. I thought that was just an absolute gas. But yeah, I thought the 2 title matches were best tonight. How's that line up with you?
Yeah, that's the same with me. Number 1 being one of the best matches I've seen in a long time. Probably the best match I've seen all year. And I also haven't seen as much wrestling as other people. But Danielson Swerve is exactly what I want. And Tony Mariah was, I mentioned it before, the pinnacle of women's wrestling at the moment, and loved it so much. And it really makes me happy that people are on the same page, 100%. I'm so happy with you.
It's rare too for these post shows that it's that sort of uniform answer.
You're
Everybody
right.
And I agree. There was some other answers in there, Jack and Darby and the Gauntlet, I think, popping up. Cobalt with a late answer here. Storm May and the Casino Royale. So there you go.
Cobalt was at the show they mentioned when they first joined. Cobalt was saying, the crowd was super pumped. until the Royale finish. Casino Battle Royale.
Yeah, you got your two heels doing a non-heel finish. There was nothing to be pumped up about there.
Yeah. You can't always send the kids home happy.
Let's talk about some of these multi-man matches. I don't feel like we have to spend a ton of time on them.
Nope.
I will say I laughed out loud at something here. I say all the time, wrestling doesn't make me laugh very hard, very often. I laughed here where the Acclaim do their rap, and one of Max Caster's lines about FTR is, y'all have Bret Hart matches in the Spank Bank. And I thought, okay, that's a fine thing. But then FTR have to take off their tracksuits and they're straight up wearing Hart family trunks. Funny. That is hilarious. Some guy's like, oh man, you love pizza. All you ever know about pizza. You're obsessed with pizza. You're like, unzip your hoodie. You have like this giant pizza t-shirt on.
Fuck. I love pizza.
Extremely funny. The Bucks are out here in Sergeant Pepper's gear. They look horrible. And the Acclaimed are out here. Now, this is where I think the FTR influence in these matches. Maddie, you've spent a lot of time with me over the years. You know that I really like that triple threat over in NXT, DIY, Authors of Pain, and FTR. And I had predicted on our preview show that we would see some of those mixed finishers in this match. And indeed we did. Bowens and Dax do the Acclaim double team. I forget what it's called right now. And the Cash and Cash, or Caster and Cash rather, do the Shatter Machine. I love stuff like that. That's just fun, only in wrestling sort of thing. They both understand each other and have this moment. It's like, okay, green means go. I don't really want to talk about these matches a ton. I didn't think it was especially good. Or not bad, just not that interesting.
Talk to me about your feelings on FTR right now. Maybe that's more interesting.
I said this on the previous show. I feel bad because I don't even know what result of this match would be best for me. Like I don't know what you do with FTR right now. I'll be honest. Cash Wheeler is so interesting to me right now. Like, maybe you could do something with Cash Wheeler. I don't know what you do with any of these teams. All three of these teams are suffering from overexposure right now, in my mind, and feel like they have been the only bodies in the division for too long. So no, I don't have anything great for you. FTR, I'd probably have them building your teams like Gates of Agony, Iron Savages. I would be putting together a Roosh and Beast Mortos team. And at the end of this match, we get the grizzled young veterans. You're grizzled, you're young. And we get grizzled young veterans show up at the end of this match. And so we're adding tag teams at least. Now, of course, no fan of the English, obviously. Made this clear. And I don't really get it. I've seen some of their matches. They seem all right. But I'm just glad we're signing tag teams. I'm not going to complain. This is a tag team.
We're getting some chats in there that I think you should read. And maybe we can expand on just like, the tag team division.
Yeah, hit it. Get some chats.
Well, Torque Penderloin obviously saying they need a tag league. I think that you could probably agree with that.
Yeah. I like that idea a lot right now.
Tag tournament from Irish Mac. New tag team debut from Cobalt. And Fruit saying youngest men alive versus the grizzled young veterans. I think that one's.
This is one of these inexplainable things where I love the nickname youngest men alive and hate the name grizzled young veterans. I couldn't explain it.
It is, but I wish I could explain it because I feel like I understand why. Because the youngest men alive is just a funny thing for two dorks to say. Grizzled young veterans is people who are maybe going past their prime and are trying to sort of morph it into a story that suits it, that works well for them. The youngest men alive, they believe that they're the youngest men alive.
Yeah,
but it's not something that's true, and I think that's
they have a rotten understanding of how time works. They've been the youngest men alive since the second after they were born. It doesn't bother me any.
But your thoughts on do you have something that could be a quick fix? Do you have a far-fetched idea that could be a quick fix for the tag division?
I think the Bucks have to put over somebody in. When they do, it has to be the opposite sort of run. You need like an international title style run for the tag team belts, where we are now used to seeing them a lot. Again, I've been pushing for the Gates of Agony or Iron Savages for a while because they're both these two Haas teams that I like. But I honestly feel like after Collision and some recent events, if you just had the Gates of Agony squash one team and then beat FTR, they would be completely legitimized to challenge the Bucks and win those titles. So that would be, but in terms of the quick fix, no, big problems usually don't have quick fixes. You've let this, not you, but the The division is dead right now. It's still on the Bucks. They don't wrestle. They have limited dates for their contract, so the foreseeable future, it's going to continue like this. So I don't know. We'll see.
I think the main point is the tag division can't thrive if the trios division is there. I think it's
always been the case.
It's been proven beyond any reasonable doubt, because your trios champions are a couple guys and another guy, and like
those couple guys are always tag teams.
It's a tag team with another guy.
Yeah.
That is your trios champion, and that's the reason why FTR sucks right now. FTR shouldn't suck ever.
Agreed.
They're one of the greatest tag. If your tag team division has two of the greatest tag teams, even if you don't like the Young Bucks, two of the greatest tag teams of all time, and you're going to tell me that if two of those are involved in your tag championship match, and there's absolutely no sauce involved, it's completely sauceless. That's fucked up. You have somehow fucked something up so bad. But I also feel like AEW always has to have, like, not has to, but like in life, not everything can be firing on all cylinders all the time, and so it's still fine for the company that these divisions, there's just so many wrestlers to put a spotlight on.
Yeah,
so,
I understand you can't have a spotlight in 100 places at once.
Yeah,
it just feels ruinous that the tag and trios divisions both suck right now.
We got Matt Bate, Mark Davis come back. Davis come back. That is a guy.
I'm so into the Kyle Fletcher singles push. I don't even know if I'd trade that for Aussie Open at this point.
I just want Mark Davis. I want a Mark Davis singles push. That guy's got the look. That guy's
let him hit him with his big ass.
That guy's barrel chested, and I want him. You know what tag team I want? Mark Davis and the Butcher.
Oh wow, two fellas.
That's my dream. That's my dream tag team. Two guys who I want to look like. Two guys with different iterations of receding hairline, and are big and have mustaches.
Two iterations of receding hairline is very funny. The For the World Championship is on the line here next, Maddie. I got chills 3 times in this card. I would have never believed this match here, Jericho versus Hook, would have been one of them.
It was the entrance of of Chris Jericho, right? When he started walking and continuing to sing, Josh
is that singing?
Yes, it is, Josh.
Okay.
Singing comes in many shapes and sizes.
All right. I think it's outright impressive that Chris Jericho wasn't embarrassed doing that in public. I can't sing. And so when people are like, oh, do you want to go sing in front of 50,000 people? Which has been an offer that's come across the old desk, not tons of times, but once or twice. It's always a no for me because I go, what are you talking about, man? I can't sing. Chris Jericho gets it, goes, yeah, man. He's all in on
how could you, like, the fact you and I both know he's not in on the joke that he's embarrassing, right?
No, dude.
The fact that he still doesn't know that he's embarrassing and he goes out there, like, if that was supposed to be bad, that would be expertly crafted.
He's Andy Kaufman.
Genius tier, like Tim Heidecker in his band Dakar level in on the joke. He doesn't get why it's so embarrassing. Mike Noble in the Discord pointing out that the drummer had it was either really dark cymbals or he was MIDI drumming. He had, and that's just unforgivable to have a band that has a headless guitar and MIDI drums.
Headless guitars are whack. There's no headless bass is even worse. 4 strings on a stick. Come on. It was a full MIDI kit, says Sludge. Ew. Chilling, and I just saw a dead body sort of way, says Fruits Are Edible. No, I got chills because this match is a 3v1 basically from Go. It's a hardcore defense for the FTW title, no rules. And Big Bill and Bounty Keith are just all over Hook. He has hope spots where he's able to throw Big Bill, which is a great moment, and throw Bounty Keith. Really good. It's England and Chris Jericho, who thinks he's a genius. So he's got the cricket bat and cricket balls out. I thought all that stuff was They didn't know how hard they could throw cricket balls at each other, so they just sort of were like, looked like it wasn't that hard. Anyway, I think Chris Jericho can still sort of do plunder matches. I thought this was good. The crowd was still into it, which I enjoyed. But let's get to it. Again, everybody's back up, and they're beating on Hook after he sort of had this hope spot. And Taz says on commentary, his dad's on the horn, says, listen, I'm trying to be a professional, but this is how it's going to be. I'm going to play my damn rules. Taz takes off his headset and starts walking to the ring, and England comes alive. They want to see the human suplex machine do his thing. He straps a Taz mission on to Bounty Keith on the outside. Inside the ring, his son has the choke on Chris Jericho, and they get the father and son double tap out spot. Woo! I was excited to see Taz. All this nonsense was worth it for this moment of seeing Taz stand up and hit the Taz mission.
And I don't know Jericho's involvement in the whole thing, but like he still can create some sort of crescendo, some sort of big moments. And this was like the crowd was so into it. It was,
yeah.
We got there by stumbling down the ramp. You know, we kept falling. We got there by stepping on rakes like Sideshow Bob does in The Simpsons, and still Jericho manages to be involved in something that is compelling. As long as Sammy Guevara isn't there, he still has something. But the second Sammy Guevara is there, it's just there's nothing. Not even years of pro wrestling can dig you out of the fucking black hole that is Sammy Guevara.
Shout out to Sammy Guevara and Brian Cage, both dressed as Wolverine in the same match tonight. On different teams.
Sammy is so, the lengths that he can go to prove that he doesn't get it.
Oh,
Brian Cage has had sideburns for a while now.
He's the Wolverine.
Stay out of his lane. I hate Sammy Guevara.
I gotta tell you, I don't like Sammy Guevara worth a lick. I'm sort of growing on Fergie's idea that he should be ROH World Champion.
Because he thinks that he could. I just don't think he could be a fucker.
I think Sammy can't. Sammy has some fucker in him. He does crazy stunts.
But he does crazy stunt and then stands up after them and goes.
Fiat's saying WB gotta love 3 Marvel characters and 0 DC on the show. Morons. Oh, is WB DC and not Marvel? I don't know how that works.
Like the DC Shoe Company USA?
No. DC Comics, you silly goose. Like Superman and Batman and The Flash and Dr. Manhattan.
Sorry, I don't recognize these names.
Yeah, well, you're thinking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which you love, which has the 3 Spider-Man.
And they pointed at each other.
You'll never forget. I remember when you came on air and you were just fucking weeping. You were like, oh, they all... I thought maybe 2, you said. You thought maybe 2 Spider-Man.
Just, can you please stop talking about it? You might get me going again.
Yeah, sorry. Let's move this on. I don't want to... Not looking to bring up old sadnesses. All right, before we get out of here, Maddie, and thank you all for joining us on the post show. Always love doing these. Matt, you're always fire on these, so thanks for making some time for it. Again, give us follow, twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain. Subscribe if you nasty. We'll be back tomorrow with WBCW Meltdown. It's a Fallout show from Friday's Battle House. If you want to watch the best fake federation in the world, you can join Slack Bobby and myself. We'll be there tomorrow. Shinji Kachitoru defending his world title again. King's Crown rematch. It's the Loudy Smoker Squad versus Ass. Tomorrow night, 7 in the West, 10 in the East. Right here. Kev Sell knows WBCW. And then Wednesday, the moment Dynamite ends. You know what it is. It's Matt and me and the Zoobs. For 4 years. Every time Dynamite ends, you get to see our smiling faces. We go through the show. It'll be the all-in fall-out show, so you know that that's going to be loaded with surprises and fun stuff. So come on right back here. And then finally, patreon.com/J0SHC, the Fergie and I mailbag, the Shootopia episode with Teddy Hart and Jordan Descharme and I. All that's behind the paywall as well. You get into the Wrestling Brain message board, patreon.com/J0SHC. Get in there and live forever, Maddie. That's what I've been saying lately. You could talk morning, noon, and night wrestling with the smartest people on earth. That's how do you get around that? If somebody
So-
wouldn't mind throwing the link in the chat, I think Streamlabs is asleep.
It's so good. Even I'm in there sometimes.
And Matt doesn't even text me back. He just goes to the Discord. I'm just kidding. You've improved greatly at texting back, I feel like.
I'm getting there, but I still leave people like I don't finish conversations at all. I just sort of leave them so it even with work people will say like thank you, and I just won't say that's it. I'm done.
You don't do like a no problem, happy to help kind of deal. Thank you, Sludge.
I'm not happy to help, and it's not no problem if I don't mean it.
It's a huge pain in the ass. Typo.
If you get anything, it's sure.
I think maybe with texting you, I know to sort of hit it and quit it. I get my answer, and I'm like the wind. Hey, Matt responded. I'm already in the gravy zone. Let's not bother the man. I'm in and out. Years and years of falling out.
And the final tally on my viral tweet was 6 likes, thanks to the Brainiacs.
Let's go. 6 likes. I mean, Twitter's dead, man. I barely get anything going on there anymore. Even the Zeus gets 100 likes for farting on there before. Nothing now.
Yeah, but he was pretty good at farting when he did the national anthem.
All-time great farters. There's no doubt about that. All right, tonight's All In opened in the middle of the trios match. What did you think of this, Maddie? With action already sort of rolling at the start of the pay-per-view, I thought this was an interesting call.
It was very interesting considering I woke up at 10:15, Josh.
Oh, right. I forgot about this. You were like, oh, when's the pay-per-view start? I was like, 15 minutes ago. You're like, oh, the pre-show? I was like, no, the show. In your defense, 10 a.m. Who thinks of pay-per-view at 10 a.m.?
These motherfuckers in England need to know their place in the world, okay? We are in the center of the universe in North America.
You only need to tell AEW that. The UFC knows. The UFC for their UK shows, the pay-per-views are on American time still. Like pay-per-view starts at 7 p.m. here. The fighters have to fight at like 4 a.m. The main event fighters are walking out at 3:30 UK time. Hilarious. It's like, are you serious, man? People probably think I'm joking. I'm being 100% serious right now.
That was a whiff from your boy, but what I did see of this opener was hot.
It was awesome, man. Juice and the
I
Guns taking on Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler. I had this one wrong in my predictions. And then the House of Black. I didn't think the thrown together team of Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler are being thrown together until I remembered that I think the BCC are breaking up. So I thought, okay, a little Pac disruption might get this done. I'll go through this match, Maddie, a little bit because I know you didn't catch a ton of it. But I love this. Every match, if you don't think AEW is paying attention to Brody King, you're crazy. Like in every match, it takes 2 guys to move him around. He gets a big weapon spot. He gets to play Haas. Him and Claudio keep returning to each other in this match, separating and returning and having these great Haas moments involving ladders. We all love it. Killswitch has a moment to win the match, but Christian calls him down and goes for them himself. Then they get knocked down. Juice Robinson grabs a giant ladder, and the world's greatest wrestler, Juice Robinson. This ladder must have been 20 feet, and he's already in the ring. Christian tips the ladder, and Juice jumps and sacks himself, does that jump onto the rope from so far. Juice Robinson is the man.
He was
then there's
so much fun in this match. Everything I saw of him, I'm just like, you need that. You need like the wildness of Mark Briscoe in a perhaps more technical way. Like he is such an asset. Love every time I see him.
He's a maniac, man. Genuine maniac.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments of the night here is when Claudio and Brody are both on the ladder climbing, and a Gun brother, Austin and Colton, both jump and sink in a rear naked choke on both of them, and then both go asleep at the same time through a table. Sometimes the stuff can look contrived, but for me, this was just an incredibly fun moment. And you just have to give it up for, I think it was Colton Gunn. There's just no way that Brody King is going to fall from 8 feet off a ladder through a table and onto the mat in a way that protects you a ton. He's going to go to his side. He's going to do his best. But like you're holding on. Can you imagine that moment? You're holding on to a giant. You're like, okay, the spot here is he's jumping off this ladder, and I'm what's underneath him. It's horrifying, man. I thought the Guns were just selling their asses off and were incredibly exciting throughout this entire match. Another fun juice moment when he finally, Mama Wayne has her little pepper spray thing out. He grabs a chair and blocks it, then grabs the spray and sprays her. This gets an enormous reaction from the crowd. Yeah, very exciting. Pop Claudia Wheeler, pick up the win and are your new trios champions. I didn't see this coming, but these are three guys that I like watching wrestle and like watching wrestle together. So I suppose it's okay. Feels a little random, but yeah,
it feels random, but they are an England-based faction. You know,
they could be. Well, yeah, I guess you get
Newcastle, the Geordie squad.
Yeah, British Combat Club because he's not from Blackpool, but at least Pac is British.
Yeah, so
they don't have any English guys. The Blackpool Combat, no connection to Blackpool post Regal.
I don't know if they'd break it up as much as they'd just sort of shift things over. Bryan Danielson is doing his own thing. Mox isn't there. I guess what they're doing is like keeping the essence of Blackpool Combat Club alive and showing that it's just like, if you're in the Blackpool Combat Club, this is who you are. Like it's similar to it's similar to what happened with Bullet Club at the start. And I know it's still going, but like there was always a different iteration, and that's who they're kind of modeling it off of, like a Bullet Club of people who just like to kick ass. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to see the end of the Blackpool Combat Club. I think Pac was put into it because they know that he's better. Well, they think that he's better with a group, and that's why they had him with that's why they had the Death Triangle. But yeah, I think we're going to still see Blackpool. It's just they're going to refer to it as BCC. They're not going to refer to it as Blackpool Combat Club, and this is just the latest iteration. The Trios champions are no longer going to be 3 names. It's going to be BCC, and it's now going to, maybe you're going to have a moment where somebody gives, like Mox or Bryan Danielson says, I'm busy, but you have my blessing. Because they love giving blessings in this company.
Yeah, the torch passing moment. And Brian's going to be tied up now at the top of the world title. I doubt he'll be involved directly in much BCC stuff.
Yeah.
But we shall see. We'll follow it along every Wednesday. Double Dudes. You all know the drill. Maddie, thank you again for your fantastic work here. A 7 from me. Was it a 7 from you?
It was a 7 from me while being understanding of the 6.9 average.
1 to 7. We're 7. We loved this show. AW All In 2024 has come and gone. So has this show. Thank you all so much for tuning into the post show. We'll see you tomorrow for Meltdown. Love and energy, everybody. We'll catch you very soon.